I hope that it was a good kind of snapshot of kind of where we are with digital fan engagement, various innovations that rights holders, third parties, broadcasters have come up with. Um, from my perspective and what's relevant to my work now, I guess, and now we're in the US, a major driver of our company is providing data and betting solutions to US Federation, leagues, rather. And I think the major legal hurdles that we have now in trying to convince states, so basically betting, sports betting, online sports betting was illegal in the US until 2010, until PASPA was repealed by the Supreme Court. And since then, it's up to the individual states to regulate betting. And as a betting company, as an integrity company, we are hoping to be in a prime position to influence policy in various states. And one of the biggest hurdles that we have is the use of official data. So essentially what I mean is that it's possible for, let's say, a competitor of ours to send someone into a stadium and bring a laptop and take data, whereas we might be the official data providers and we sell that to betting companies. So one, not only does this compromise the integrity of the data because you don't know if it's accurate or not, but it diminishes the valuation of the rights, I believe, for rights holders. If you can get it cheaper somewhere else, then why would you go the official route? So what we're trying to do is ensure that in any legislation that is drafted in the various US states, that bookmakers must use official data. And I think most states are on board at the moment with that. Most legislation that's coming out, you have to have official data. So again, very interesting, and relates to the integrity of not only the sport, but the data coming out of the sport. Another problem that we have is information sharing. With this increased digitization, it's very easy to kind of hide who you are. You can use a VPN as a fan to bet on games, whilst also using another VPN to kind of send messages to a player and get them to undertake activities that are contrary to the integrity of sport. So again, all of these challenges are coming out of integrity, of increased digitization and the compromise of integrity of the sport. At this juncture, so that was my 2 cents on the last topic. Yeah. But does anyone have any questions to any of us up here, based on anything?
Well, I have a question. I'll speak up. Based on the information that you guys were giving us, I understand maybe in India and the UAE, there's not actively prosecution of gambling. Is that accurate?
No. See, there is prosecution if you're caught, but there is no way they can catch you, especially when it comes to internet. Because if I bet, I can actually see. Let me be honest. This is not on record. I'm not talking as a lawyer. I'm just telling you. There is a lot of ways in which money moves. So if you do it through non-banking channels, you can bet through non-banking channels. You have a lot of ways you can bet. You can get around the AML. You can get around the data. You can actually hide who you are, and there is no way they can stop it. Plus, as I told you, in India at least, the fantasy sports have got the legality because they won the cases in the Supreme Court. So you can bet as much as you want. You can do $1 million a day. So nobody can stop you because that's legal. The platform is legal and the betting is legal.
I think it would be useful to kind of divide that into 2 aspects. So there's one, the participants of the sport. Who deals with them, and can they be prosecuted? And the answer to that is most likely yes, because a lot of federations, a lot of leagues are kind of astute to this problem right now, and they'll most likely have in their regulations that even if it's not very specific, like you must not share information for the purpose of betting, there might be a general provision that enables a league or a federation to discipline a participant. Obviously, the rules have to explicitly state that a participant, however you define it, is covered by the rules. I think, as Monica said, the bigger issue is people outside of the sport. And it was mentioned earlier that a lot of it is organized crime. And in my experience, what I've seen is that betting is the way to clean money. It's not the crime in itself that's the goal. So normally there's other things behind it, but in a lot of most countries actually, there isn't specific legislation to prosecute, let's say, well, they're not crimes because obviously there's no legislation for them, but you know, activity, nefarious activity, contrary to the spirit of sport. There isn't much legislation with regard to that. So in the UK, you have a general fraud legislation that covers that, but there isn't anything that specifically says, you know, betting on sport for the purposes of, I don't know, corrupting a game is not. Yeah, so it can be very difficult.
Greg, please.
Yes, Elias Hayek, I'm the chair of the Leisure Industry section and also the head of hospitality and leisure for my firm. And I happen to be residing in the UAE. So I just wanted to maybe add to a few things that have been said. At the moment, gaming in the UAE and across the GCC is prohibited. However, most recently, certain international gaming companies have entered into agreements to provide gaming to the United Arab Emirates at a federal level and into the various emirates at a local level. That legislation has not passed, although there are drafts of it. And that legislation is intended to regulate gaming in a broad sense, including gambling and online activities. And there are significant prohibitive fines and a regulatory authority to be provided and a very regimented structure, very much like the structures in the United States and across Europe, with large drivers for tax contributions arising out of gaming activities and federal involvement, etc. So I think the point I'm trying to make is these nascent jurisdictions that you refer to that have been abused or have turned a blind eye to these activities, I think it goes without saying, they're very keen to understand all of the potential benefits of regulation. And I don't think it will be too long before the roundabout solutions or alternatives that you reference will no longer be present or will be heavily regulated, even in the markets that rely on these archaic laws, because I think they're smarter than that. And certainly
I agree with you, but like I'll come back to these countries. Say probably Singapore would enact law very quickly. They've already done that.
yes.
Right? But from my experience, what I see in all these smaller or bigger countries which have slower legal systems compared to UAE or Singapore, would find it very tough.
Yeah.
You know, passing a law can take years, and it would not be before another 5 years that you'll see a global law on this.
Yeah.
You know, and 5 years is a lot of time when it comes to gaming or something on the internet. So you'll have the gray area which exists for at least 5 years from my experience. I might be wrong 100% because I'm not the legislature. But yes, the governments want the money. They're looking at it, but they would need lawyers like you and me to draft that kind of legislation, and administrators who can actually tell them what's happening, and people like Natalie who know how it's done and who have the solutions to tell them that these are the solutions and this is how we'll protect you.
Yeah.
Even if there's a VPN, even if there's a Western Union transfer or whatever, this is how we're going to protect you from the AML or other things. So this will take a long time. Even if UAE comes up with the legislation, it's not going to be foolproof. You and I both know how it's publicized and how it's implemented. So things are going to be open for the next 5 years. That's why I always say there's a lot of work for lawyers. We'll first advise them on the legislation, then advise the companies on infringement, and then when they're caught, advise them on litigation. So we'll have a lot of work for us. So this is a good field. Thank you.